Welcome to the Conquer Food Podcast with Craig and Paula Williams, where we share tips, tricks and strategies from the coalface of the weight loss industry in the UK. We're going to help you to think, eat and move better. Ultimately, we're going to help you finally gain control and conquer food. Hey up, welcome to another episode of the Conquer Food Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about how to break sugar addiction. It's something that we're really concentrating on at a team boot camp on the Conquer Food program. We've got a little 30-day sugar-free challenge going, and it's going incredibly well, about halfway through. And some people are getting some amazing results, not just releasing themselves from the problems that you get associated with sugar addiction, but also a considerable amount of weight loss. They're also eliminating cravings, rebalancing the hormones, just a whole host of other benefits. So today, I really want to talk about sugar addiction, and I'm going to talk about like the symptoms of sugar addiction to give you an idea of whether you might be addicted to sugar. I'm also going to give you 7 steps that can help you to break sugar addiction. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my 10-step process, which is I have a mnemonic fresh start, which is how you can kind of start implementing some of these steps over a few days to really start cutting back on sugar. Now, if you want to shortcut this process, if you want help and accountability and support, then check out the link in the description below where It'll redirect you to our 30-day sugar-free challenge on Facebook. It's a free group, lots of support in there, lots of tips and tricks and all this kind of stuff. So click on the link and get into it. Okay, so I think we could all agree before we start that sugar addiction actually exists. You know, when I was doing a bit of research for this episode, there's some people saying, you know, can you really be addicted to sugar, and is it really as powerful as some drugs and all this kind of stuff? And I think we can all agree that, yeah, it is. And if you're listening to this podcast, then chances are you understand that sugar addiction is a real thing. It's a real problem, and there's a whole load of unwanted byproducts of consuming a hell of a lot of sugar, which a lot of us do in today's day and age. But here are sort of 6 things that you can sort of compare to you and your lifestyle to see if you have got a sugar addiction. Number 1, you crave comfort foods at dinner. Okay, so when it comes to like dinner time, you're not really thinking about what's nutritionally going to be best for you, or perhaps what's going to be the best tasting food. It's really, you're really thinking about stuff that's going to make you feel good. Okay, those comfort foods, whether you've had a good day, bad day, you're embarrassed, ashamed, whatever it is. But quite often we eat to change those states and to change those emotions. Now, if you're craving these comfort foods, then, it's a good indication that you've got some level of sugar addiction. The next one is that you crave sweet beverages or sugary drinks. Okay, so instead of like just thinking, oh, I'm thirsty, I need some water, or I just want a cup of tea or whatever, you're actually craving these sugary drinks or sweet beverages. Water for most humans is perfectly adequate, and hot drinks just sort of break up the day and can warm us up and add a little bit of taste to what we're drinking. But if you're really craving like sugary, what the Americans call soda, or what we call soft drinks, then that can be an indication that you're addicted to sugar. If you're making excuses for your sugar habit, if you're sort of saying to people, oh, it's only one, it's only today, it's only a one-off, or I've had a terrible day, and you're kind of excusing what is obviously, an unhealthy habit. If you're consuming way too much sugary foods and just sort of throwing it into your mouth and not really thinking about it, and then you make excuses for it, then even it's the time of the month or whatever, but if you're making excuses regularly about the amount of sugar that you're eating, then that's a good indication that you're addicted to sugar. Have you tried to kick sugar and failed in the past? If you've tried to sort of give it up and have really struggled, then that kind of suggests that you've got some kind of chemical addiction and habitual addiction to actually eating sugar and sugary foods. because you've tried it and failed. Now, if the addiction wasn't that strong, then you would have succeeded, unless you weren't truly committed. So that's an indication again. And then the final one of this 6 is you eat or binge on sugar when you're alone. Okay. Now, it's what we do when we're on our own that really counts. When there is no transparency or accountability, and if you're kind of, especially binging on sugary foods when you're alone, it's a real indication that you have an addiction to sugar, and now is the time to really get a grip of it. So what are the ways that you can actually get a grip? Like I said, I just kind of pulled these tips. I had a little scour of the internet and watched a few videos on YouTube, and these are the tips that are getting pushed around. So I'm going to give you the tip and then give you my spin on it, and then remember that afterwards I'm going to give you my fresh start process for getting a grip of sugar. Okay, so number 1 then, remove all sugar and processed foods from the house. Okay, you've just got to get rid of it. You've got to. Food and sugary food is so easy to get hold of nowadays that unless you start putting up some barriers, you're just going to default to that all the time. So get it out of the house, ditch it. Don't, again, with these excuses and all that, because don't think, I'll just keep for the kids or the grandkids or whatever. Just get it out of the house, because when the addictions really start to kick in, and willpower is its lowest, perhaps at nighttime, in the evenings or whatever. You're just not going to resist, okay? So you need to get rid of it. A good idea, what I ask everyone to do on the 30-day sugar-free challenge, is to set a sugar quota. So, this is how many grams of refined sugar you're going to accept on a daily basis, and really have a target to aim towards. A good target there is anything sort of below 25 grams, which is not a lot when you start looking at some of the sugary drinks. I was looking at one the other day, and there was like 36 grams of sugar in what was supposed to be a health juice. It's just absolutely everywhere. So when you start trying to stick to a sugar quota, it really highlights how much sugar that there is actually up there, and will help you sort of streamline your eating and reduce that sugar intake. Step number 2 is some people say go cold turkey. Some people say don't go cold turkey. In my experience, everyone is slightly different, and some people need cold turkey because, they've got such an addictive nature that even if they had a little bit of sugar in their diet, it will just spiral them out of control, and they will just tend to binge and eat more of it. You'll tend to know if you're one of those kind of people or not. And then the other route is to taper and transition. So if you're somebody who has not really got that much of an addictive nature, I'm a bit like that, then it might be that you want to kind of slowly reduce and taper your sugar intake down until you can then transition to to a sugar-free lifestyle, sugar-free diet or whatever. So the second step then is to choose the route that you're going to do. Okay, both have pros, both have cons. One is suited to one person, might not be suited to another person, and vice versa. So really, you need to have a little think about you, your habits, your relationship with sugar, and what's worked for you in the past. If you're somebody that says to yourself, I am all or nothing, then it might be, cold turkey might be the right route for you. And if you're somebody who's like, oh no, I need to work into it slowly and build up to it or whatever, then it might be that a taper and the transition route is for you. Both routes I cover in the 30-day sugar-free challenge. So have a little think about that. Step 3 is to increase your water intake. You need to be drinking a lot more water. Quite often, we will eat sugary foods because we're dehydrated, and we mistake that as hunger, and then we just start eating. Of course, our hunger doesn't dissipate. So we just carry on eating, thinking that was the answer, and I'm obviously still hungry. Hand in hand with drinking water, a lot of the benefit that you get from breaking sugar addiction at the start comes from the stuff that you're no longer doing, not necessarily stuff that you are doing. So yes, up your water intake, okay, flush a lot of those toxins out, and it'll help with hunger, like I said. But also reduce your alcohol, if not completely cut it out. Alcohol is a form of sugar. It's got no use in the human body other than energy. So you really need to be kind of cutting that out if you're serious about going sugar free. Likewise with sugary drinks, especially sports and supposedly health juices and that kind of, and shakes and that kind of stuff. When you start looking at the ingredients And what makes these drinks, there's a hell of a lot of sugar in there. Okay, so we need to be avoiding that. Step number 4 is to kind of think ahead and prepare healthy snacks in bulk and carry some with you wherever you go. You know what it's like, a lot of addictions become habits, and with habits there's always a couple of different parts of that, and one of them being trigger. So you need a trigger to run the routine and then to get the reward. Well, triggers can be all sorts, from the time of day to your location to the people you're with to the activities that you're doing. The triggers really are everywhere. So you want some sort of healthy snacks that you've prepared ahead of time or got really handy. Like I said, you want as few obstacles in your path to eating better than as possible. And remember, it's easier to swap a habit than it is to break a habit. Okay, so if you can go from eating a chocolate bar every day to perhaps eating a pear and half a dozen almonds, that is a massive step, but it is going to take a bit of effort and a bit of work, and you're going to have those healthy snacks on hand. Same goes with your meals. Just because it's a bigger event, a bigger meal, doesn't mean that you just leave it to chance. It's definitely something that you need to think about ahead of time and prepare. Step 5 is consciously move your body every single day, hand in hand with with cutting or breaking sugar addiction. You need to be moving more often. It'll help in a few different ways. One, it'll quite often we will eat because we become bored or static or something like that. So if we're moving, then we will allow the state in our body to change, and quite often it'll take our mind off sort of mindless eating of sugary foods. So keep moving, and also the activity will just help you see progress. The movement in whatever it is will help you with your weight loss, with your cravings, all this kind of stuff. And remember that progress really is the most motivating factor every time you're looking to change something. Step number 6 is related to stress levels. Now, you really need to focus hard on reducing stress as much as you can. Stress will naturally cause sugar cravings, and it will also cause you to seek out sort of pleasure in to take your mind off this stress and all that. So if you can reduce stress and just become a little bit less stressed, or a bit happier or a bit more content, then it's definitely going to help. So ways that you can help with that is a bit of meditation, being mindful of what's going on, avoiding sort of stressful situations, having a bit of a life detox, whether it's social media, whether it's technology, whether it's the people that are just kind of stressing you out, whatever it is, really focus on reducing that stress. And then the final one is get a better quality sleep each night. Really focus on improving your sleep. There is definite relation between having a naff night's sleep and craving sugar. Okay, so if we can focus on having some quality sleep, the first step really is to value it. Sleep is often the last thing that we kind of we value. We think, I've got all this stuff to do during the day and that. Well, I'll just sleep a little bit less. We value it. But if you start to really value it, then you can already start to improve it. And loads of things happen when you start to improve your sleep. Your sugar cravings will drop. Your willpower will increase. So especially in the first few days, you really need as much willpower as you can get. All right. So really focus on getting a good quality sleep each night. And we may well do episodes on all these individual steps in the future. So let me know if you would like additional podcasts on any of those little steps there. Okay, so all this being said, with the 30-day sugar-free challenge, I wanted to create a process to help people kind of wean themselves off sugar and just kind of help them. So I came up with the moniker of Fresh Start. We started on the 1st of January, although you can start the challenge anytime you want. And each letter stands for something else. So with Fresh Start, the first letter being F. So the first thing we do is we really focus on fructose. Now, fructose is the sugar that is contained in fruit. And you might think, well, that's got to be healthy. Surely it's fruit. And in some respects it is. It brings with it a lot of nutrients and vitamins, which you wouldn't get with refined sugar. However, fructose is used in the body in a completely different way to any other sugar. And, we have to process it in the liver. And there's actually much more chance of excess energy consumed as fructose being stored as body fat. All right. And actually, fructose is used as an added sugar in lots of different foods. By concentrating fruit down, we can create this really sweet substance, and then they can use that as almost a natural sweetener in lots of different foods. And this is what you'll see in a lot of health foods. So we want to focus on reducing fructose as a bit of a starter. The R is refined sugar. It goes without saying that this is the real killer that's infiltrated our diet. It's absolutely everywhere. So on this second one, the R, we really focus on reducing that refined sugar. Anything from sugar you put in your cereals to in your tea and coffee, you put in your food, whatever it is, perhaps you're baking at home. We can really start to reduce that refined sugar. You're going to make some massive progress. The E is easy wins. There'll be certain things in your diet that you're eating now which you can just make some really quick and easy swaps. And an obvious one is alcohol. If you're having like a glass of wine at night, could you swap that for a sparkling water and some lemon every night? Of course, it's not bringing the alcohol, but that's the idea. You're going kind of sugar free, and again, that will have some massive benefits, not just in nutritionally what you're eating, but in the rest of your lifestyle. You'll tend to sleep better and all sorts of kind of stuff. The S is starches. So, we don't often associate starchy foods with sugar, but it's a carbohydrate, and it works the same way in the body. So if we can start to reduce some of the starches, an example would be, instead of like a traditional sandwich, 2 slices of bread, can we have like an open sandwich, 1 slice of bread? Already, you've reduced the amount of starchy food you're taking in. Can you reduce the amount of potatoes, bananas, rice, bread, pasta, whatever it is? All this is going to help, and it's going to help you with your to prevent any cravings and also balance your insulin and other hormones. H is hidden sugars. They are literally everywhere. There's about 60 different names for different types of sugar before we even get onto like sweeteners, and they absolutely they hide everywhere, and the food industry are becoming really good at hiding it in the food. So it takes a little bit of awareness, kind of diving down into the food labels to see what you're actually eating, and just having a bit of curiosity over what you are eating to be able to reduce that hidden sugar. But you can make a massive hole in the amount of sugar that you're eating by cutting out foods that have got a ton of sugar hidden inside it. The S, the first letter of start, is sweeteners. So sweeteners, there are some sweeteners are better than others. There is a place for some sweeteners. If you're somebody that drinks, like, let's use Coca-Cola as an example, like full fat Coca-Cola, then dropping down to like Diet Coke is a great first start, but it is a start, and you need to progress from that and keep improving it all the time. But it's definitely a first start on that. And it's the same with a lot of other foods as well. If you're somebody that can't really stomach tea or coffee without sugar, then a natural sweetener such as stevia or xylitol, erythritol, something like that can be a good alternative with all of the taste, but none of the bad things that you associate with the sugar. The T stands for time. So time is really important because whenever we eat sugar, we will trigger insulin in the body, and whenever insulin is present in the body, our body struggles to use excess like body fat as energy because it wants to use the sugar all the time. It's just so much easier for it. Now, it takes time for those insulin levels to ease down, to calm down, so you can then start tapping into your body fat again. So you can manipulate time to help with, 1, your weight loss, but 2, your sugar cravings and your dietary intake as well. So in the time thing, I talk a lot about like how can you use it? How can you recruit time to do that? The A stands for advertising, and advertising plays a massive role in the food that we eat. It's absolutely relentless. It's everywhere in every advert. They just absolutely, we are just bombarded with with advertising on a daily basis. And, there's some real misinformation and misleading information out there. So once you start to learn that kind of stuff, you can start to change the way you eat, okay? But there's some very, very smart, very, very rich people creating subtle messages to get you to eat some of this crap, addictive food, okay? And you don't want to fall foul to that. The art is rewards. Fundamentally, we eat a lot of sugary foods as a reward. We see it as a treat. I'm going to have something good, something nice. And actually, it might give you a little bit of short-term pleasure, but actually in the long run, it's terrible for you, So, you can look at rewards and how you can reward yourself in a way other than sugary foods. And then the final one is trades, as in swaps. It's like I said, it's far easier to swap food than it is to completely eliminate food. Okay, so instead of like being somebody who drinks Coca-Cola all the time, all throughout the day, to just stop that is quite hard. But to transition to a sugar-free version, to then transition to perhaps sparkling water, to then transition to like filtered water is kind of, that's kind of how you want to be going. That's much easier than just saying, right, okay, that's it, no more. So they're the 10 sort of steps that we have in the sugar-free challenge. Again, if you want to learn more and you want a bit of help and a bit of peer support, then check out the link in the description below. Get yourself in there. Like I said, it's a free group. Everybody's welcome. You can start whenever you want. And that's pretty much it. So, to summarize this episode, sugar addiction is a real serious thing. And, I think back to my childhood, and there weren't half as much sugars around as there is now. And, I kind of think back to the issues I've had with sugar and food. And when I think about my kids and the generations that are coming through now, it's just absolutely scary. It really is a silent killer that we need to be, we really need to be working on reducing the amount of sugar that we take in. Okay, so I hope you found this episode of benefit. It's like I said, we're having a big push on the old sugar addiction over the next couple of months. So join us, get in on the 30-day sugar-free challenge. And until the next podcast, take care.